to the Farmyard Garden. If you're new here, my name is Claire. I know I've mentioned this before, but we have an agricultural show tomorrow, and I'm just seeing what vegetables I can find to enter into a vegetable basket. Somewhere in here, look, some little potatoes. These need to come out now because there's not a lot of room for the courgettes. So if I can get these out, these courgettes will have a bit more room. I think these are kestrels. Look at them. Wow. Aren't they beautiful potatoes? Wow. Wow. Really happy with this crop. Wow. Huh. Do you know, I was so sold on doing everything in potato tubs, but I've grown on the ground. And like I said in the last video, these are in the ground. And wow, so clean as well. Wow, look at that. This is a brilliant start. Oh gosh. I'm delighted with these. I absolutely love the colour of them. It's heavy already, but that's not a bad return so far, is it? Let's see what else we can find for this basket. Back to the carrot box. And I'm hoping that there's some straightish carrots. I don't care if they're not particularly very big, but I'm hoping there's some good carrots in here for the show. Oh. Oh, now that's a good carrot for a show. I have to try and not break the tops on them because I need the tops. Wow. This is looking good so far. Wow, look at that one. Oh. I'm looking for some that are quite similar sizes. So I don't mind them being small, but I'd like them to all be small. You know, you wouldn't put those two in the show together because they're just so different, but that one's a good one. Oh, these are all coming out together. They're absolutely perfect, and for baby carrots, look at them, absolutely perfect, just roasted whole. But that shows you why you really should thin your carrots, because whilst they've grown quite nicely, they didn't have enough room to grow any bigger. I'm actually entering 2 individual carrot classes as well as the vegetable basket, because I thought I'd see if I can get some of these purple ones, if there's any a decent size. I only need 3, so I'm just having a little bit of a nosy to see if there's 3 bigger ones. This one might be okay. Oh, I think he'll clean up all right. Yeah, loving him. I've gone on to decide I might as well just pull them all up now so that I can re-sow a whole row. I'm glad I did that because the last few there are quite big. I also want to enter a parsnip, but I don't really want to waste too many parsnips because obviously I don't have that many. I want them to grow for me for winter. So I'm just having a little fork to see if I can see one that's not too bad a size. Let's try this one. Oh. Oh. Yes. I only need 1 parsnip for this class because the class I'm entering the parsnip in is one called Any Other Vegetable Not Mentioned Elsewhere in the Schedule. And parsnips don't have a mention. Oh. You know, I just want to eat parsnips now. Oh, I've got options now. Going to clean these up, decide which one is going to go in the show, but I'm really, really excited for how these are going to be in autumn now. Can't believe how much they've grown in the last couple of weeks since I've thinned them out. It's brilliant. My first patty pan. Look at that. I've had a bit of move around in the trugs because it seemed easier to have the potatoes in the basket. Remember the courgettes that I thought were ready to harvest last week? Well, I might have forgotten to harvest them. One. Look at the size of this. 2, 3, 4. Now I actually think this is probably the right size for harvesting, and all of these are, well, massive. I can't get over this. Last week I was complaining that I had no courgettes ready to pick yet. Now you've seen me pick 5. 5 already in a week. And now I'm going to see if there's any French beans ready. And I think there is. These are all really curly. Not how I expected them to be at all. They weren't curly like this last year. Oh, they're doing okay. Oh, this one has loads on it. Oh, wow. Nice. I think the last thing I'm going to try and enter is one of the Swedes in the mixed basket. And I think this one looks okay. There's a nettle there. Try not to nettle myself. Oh. Yeah. I think that'll do for my basket, won't it? Look at that. It's better than any of the Swedes I grew last year. I'm well happy with that one. Got all these little bags full of beans and peas. I'll add that Swede into the mix now. That's going in the show. Emily and Joe are also entering the show, so there's a bit of a mass cleaning of vegetables going. What are you cleaning at the moment?
Parsnips.
They look good. I've taken all of the entries to the show. I didn't really do much filming because sadly one of my horses came down with colic last night, so it was kind of a bit of a rush job to get everything to the show in time. Obviously you can tell that I've harvested the remaining potatoes from this bed. As I'm running out of space for those spare brassicas that I have in the greenhouse, I've just put this frame up and I think they might as well go here. Then we'll head back to the showground and just have a look to see how any of my entries did. Wouldn't it be great if some of them were placed? So exciting. Never entered a show before. Let's see what happens. And then there's a bit more harvesting to do at the end of the video, so stick around. I'll get some planting done now. Now before I plant out into here, I will give it a little bit of fresh fertiliser. I really like this pelleted form of it. So much easier to work with. They are a bit big for seedlings really, aren't they? We'll have to have a little look over them just to make sure that there's no butterfly eggs landed on them out of the greenhouse. Oh, and I can already spot something now. There's a little cluster of large white caterpillar eggs, or cabbage whites as we call them here. I can't see any more on any of the other leaves, so that's a good sign. These are Romanesco, these are kale, and these are some Calabrese Sun King. Now, I don't think I'm going to plant the Romanesco in here. I'm going to plant them in the bed above the greenhouses because that bed needs to be raised anyway, as there is a Taunton and Dean kale in there from Kerry at Dog on the Plot. And I know that they grow tall because I've seen hers. I'm quite excited to get these out because I've kept looking at them in the greenhouse and they make me feel guilty. But on the flip side, it is really lovely to have had a bed come empty and have well-established crops ready to get planted into that bed straight away. And I really love kale, so to have all of these different varieties of kale now on the plot, absolutely amazing. Oh, look at this cheeky thing. He's coming to have a look before I've even planted them. I am struggling a little bit to dig a hole today. Had a little bit of an accident in the stables the other day and I bent my finger back and I'll be honest, I thought I'd broken it. So I don't have much grip with it at the moment. There's a couple of not so nice leaves on, so let's get those taken off. Let's get you planted out. Oops. Somewhat root bound, I think. I'll just put the label in there with it. I wonder how many volunteer potatoes I'll get growing in this bed next year. And this just leaves me enough room on this side to plant all of these Calabrese Sun King out. So I'll get on and plant those out while you can have a little look around the garden. In spite of what I said about not putting any Romanesco in this bed, I decided maybe I shouldn't have all my eggs in one veg bed. Just giving them a really good watering in. And then I'll sort out the cover for them to protect them from those pesky butterflies. I always think you could do with an extra pair of hands when it comes to things like this mesh. And I don't have an extra pair of hands today. Pleased with how it's turned out. I chose this black netting on purpose because there are living rooms behind and I thought the white mesh was quite sort of in your face, and this is definitely much more subtle and I can see the plants better through it. You'll notice from a change of clothes that I haven't walked straight to the onion bed. In fact, quite a lot has happened in the last couple of days. Daughter has been rushed in for emergency surgery. Thankfully, she is recovering now, but that's what I was doing when I was just finishing off the brassica bed. Duncan came flying onto the lawn to tell me all about Hannah's issues and why she was in emergency care. So we're really pleased to report that Hannah is doing a lot better now, but it was a really testing few hours and she's got a long recovery ahead of her. My horse has also had colic and needed the vet visit a few times. So it's been a draining week, so as much as I like to have a lot of positive energy about me, I've been tested this week. But on the flip side of that, there are some pretty good onions in this bed, only one or two, but they are going to put a little positive smile back on my face after a fair few days of trauma that we've had here on the farm. Now this bed has been pretty much left to its own devices. I planted these out pretty late in the season because I had leeks in here already. But these are my Boxing Day sown onions, and do you know what? There's only a few of them that have done really, really well because they were so neglected. I had no faith in them. They looked like blades of grass for months on end, and so I did buy quite a lot of onion sets because I thought these were going to get discarded. And this bed has really struggled with slugs as well, and a lot of these leaves have been munched by slugs and the brassicas that are in the other end of the bed. But the few onions in here that have been successful have taught me all I need to know for next year, and that is sow my own onions, because they are far better quality onions if you look after them than anything that I've had in onion sets. I mean, none of these are bolted for a start, so that is one great big plus, isn't it? So let's get these few really big ones harvested today. As you can see, the neck has fallen over, so this is telling me that it's ready to be harvested. I have a little spade with me. Variety here is Bedfordshire Champs. Look at that. I like the shape of him. I'm not sure if that's how they all are, but liking the shape. I'm really pleased with this one. My first seed sown onion that I've harvested. Can't believe I've grown that from a seed. Amazing. Let's get this one as well. Absolutely beautiful. Wow. All in all, this is a pretty pleasing, unexpected onion harvest because I honestly didn't expect them to do anything earlier on in the year. I should have had far more faith in sowing my own seeds. Now, if I turn my attention to the rest of the bed, I can tell you there's brassicas in here, but I've kind of lost track of what I put in here. Somewhere in here is a Taunton and Dean perennial kale that Kerry gave me, and I think there's a 9-star broccoli, which is why this thing needs to be made taller for future seasons. In fact, it already needs to be made taller, so I need to look for some bigger canes, but for now I'm going to have to just put this cover back over here. I'm going to tidy up the lower leaves of these brassicas now, try and work out which is which, but that might not become evident until some of them start cropping. And then I'm going to put the Romanescos in the other end of this bed. And in fact, over autumn and winter, I have decided that I'm going to make this more of a permanent brassica area. They kind of like the afternoon shade that it gets here. So this bed and the one next to it, maybe turn them into a bit of a horseshoe bed and put a connection across here. I can make this kind of a walk-in brassica area for next year. Exciting plans. Having seen how big the Romanesco has grown down the other side of the bed, I'm only going to plant 3 in the top half of this bed, so I'll pick the 3 best ones. As this is all fresh compost, I'm not going to bother with putting any lime in here from a club root point of view. They look pretty healthy without any lime in there, so I'm going to do the same for these. Luckily, this soil is really soft. Again, so root bound, they're desperate to get out. So he's in quite a long way, giving plenty of support because they've grown quite weedy in the greenhouse. That's all 3 planted. All I have left to do now is to try and raise the cover up a little bit temporarily. I'm not sure how much extra room I have on the actual mesh. I'm sure this should go in a bit further than this. Right. I will just use some of that plant tie. Now we just need to see how much extra mesh I have to make this work. Might take this leaf off here because, and this one, these leaves here are encouraging the butterflies, potentially. Oh yes. really pleased with how that's turned out, giving them enough height and breathing space until we decide when to build the structure for in here. What I have just noticed while I'm over here though is that these hollyhocks are really blowing about in the wind that we have today. And unfortunately, this is the last cane that I have at the moment. So I can't give it too much support, but I'm going to do my best with what limited supplies that I have. Pretty certain Duncan's bought some more actually, I just can't remember where he said he'd put them. But it's so close to flowering now that I don't want to lose it. These have, I say that though, these have actually lost most of their leaves to rust. But hopefully the flowers are still going to be a big hit. I might see if I can just get some more string and fasten these to that as well. And while I'm here, it's time to harvest a few more of these mighty marrows. And just harvesting these reminds me, let's go and take a look at how I got on at the show. That 4 firsts, 4 seconds and 2/3 in my first ever horticultural show. Absolutely blown away. Now I didn't take much footage while I was at the show, and that's because my horse was really poorly at the time and I had to keep coming back to meet with the vet and obviously to check on him, so I kept popping over and then popping back to look at my horse. But I couldn't miss going into the tent to see how well I'd done in the classes, and honestly blown away. And of course it fuels the motivation to try and do better next year, but I don't know if I can beat that score anyway. But what it does lead to is a lot of banter over breakfast now, because when I'm dishing Duncan his breakfast up, I'm reminding him that these are prize winning tomatoes. I might have to start charging him for breakfasts now. And if you want to know what the variety was that won that class, these are Luc Fichois. Look at them. Prize-winning tomatoes. And I grew them from seed. Unbelievable. I'll catch you in the next video. Look after yourselves. Bye.